Now some good vocal exercises.
I kind of like to tout myself as like a not so cool guy in general. And every time I start to feel like a little bit too confident in myself, like my life's going a little bit too good for my own liking, I tend to knock myself down a peg or two by reminding myself that like 80% of my life, even up to this point, has been horribly cringe. Either due to like social missteps or me just being very ignorant and stupid in general. Like I'm positive I have like a million stories from when I was younger just doing just stupid and cringy stuff. But fortunately, I do also have a terrible memory, so I can't remember 90% of it. So what I like to do whenever something pops back into my head, like an old memory, I like to write it down straight away or do a quick voice note. And one of those voice notes reminded me of the time that I slept walked naked in front of my entire family. If you're new here, bro, I'm not like a story time YouTube guy, mainly because everything I like to talk about actually happened to me. And I won't be like, and then this happened, and then Obama shook my hand, because most of my stories are pretty mid. It's just, you know, kind of humorous. And if you do find me mildly humorous, you legally have to subscribe or at least try and check out my other stuff, mate. That was my 30-second time waster, so now I can talk about how my mom and probably my grandma saw my cock and balls. So 2 to 3 years ago, I got married. And during that time, I was incredibly stressed. You see, because me and my wife are both immigrants, and the immigration process into the UK is, to put it mildly, a fucking nightmare. The required amount of income you're expected to make is batshit. If you're an unskilled laborer, no chance. In fact, the only reason I managed to pull it off was because for 2 years straight, I had to work 5 night shifts in a row for 12-hour shifts, and those shifts would bleed into more shifts. So some weeks I was doing 8 shifts in a row, some weeks I was doing 10 to 12 shifts in a row just to make the quota to get her into the country. And I was lucky to have maybe 1 day off in those time periods. Needless to say, I was going quite loopy, because on top of the added stress of having to hit a quota, otherwise my visa application would fail, I was also attempting to save up as much money as humanly possible, as well as pay for the visa. You know, obviously to pay for the wedding, because the visa was gonna cost $2,000 and then the wedding was gonna cost $2,500 on top of that. Now, bro, this all could have been easier for me in a different timeline. But unfortunately, in this time frame, I was fresh out of high school. I was 19 years old. I just finished school, immigrated to another country, and because of having zero work experience, was struggling to get a job that would pay decently. So I ended up working as a care assistant for, you know, basic income. Now, trying to get $5,000 together on basic income is hard enough, but then to also be working constantly on top of that, and then living in a new country where you don't know anyone besides your family, essentially leaving you with a ball of stress, enough worry that you could fill up a goddamn bucket, and literally zero nilch way of, what's the word? Having a healthy output for all of this. And I don't want to hear anything. I don't. When was I supposed to have time for myself with all of that stuff going on? I was way too tired to work out. I definitely did not have enough time to go meet new people. And what hobby are you meant to do besides watch TV and scratch your nutsack on your days off when you work that much? So I was pretty much a volcano waiting to blow. All of the ungodly amounts of stress eventually ended up causing me to have night terrors. Some evenings I would sweat through my sheet, and this is important, I have now and then and always will sleep completely nude. Nothing is better than silk smooth sheets on freshly shaved testicles. If you don't believe me, send me a picture of your nutsack on velvet sheets. Anyway, as I was saying, because I always slept nude, I kept sweating right through my sheets. And sometimes I would have to get up 3 times a night just to change them. It was like being in a swimming pool waking up. Now, why did I bring that up? What does this have to do with me walking around nude in front of my family? Well, because that's where I think it started. Because some evenings I would catch myself, I'll just wake up from this stupor, because I was in such autopilot mode with this routine I developed for myself. So some evenings I would get out of bed, turn over, climb up, start ripping my sheets off, all of a sudden just gain consciousness again, see that I'm looking down at a wet, sticky sheet, look down at my glistening wet body, and just think to myself, how did I end up here? Did I pee the bed? No, I must have sweated again. And this was more than once that happened. It was multiple times that I just woke up from a stupor and realized what was crack. Now, the smart thing would have been, oh, if someone walks in, you should probably be wearing some pants or something, Dean. But it's just the way I've always slept my entire life. I've lived in a hot climate my entire life. It's just something I'm used to. And the idea of wearing boxers or just plain shorts or long pants, I can't do it. I just can't. So I just kept letting this go on and on and on over the course of 3 months or so. And then one evening, the inevitable happened. Or at least I think it did. Because the first time I think it happened, I'm not 100% sure. I remember waking up in the kitchen at, I want to say, 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, like I said to you, I'm an immigrant, so obviously most of my family are immigrants. And at this time, we were living on top of one another. I mean, my cousin was there, my auntie was there, my grandparents lived downstairs, my parents lived in the main room, and my sister was living with us too. And me, who just moved across. So in this like hazy vision I have of that 4 o'clock kitchen trip, I was stood in front of the stove, white and pasty, with the moonlight shining upon me like Edward from Twilight, just staring blankly at the stove, not moving. And from the corner, I heard a voice say, "Dean?" And I remember turning around and seeing my 80-year-old grandmother looking at my ass cheeks. And that's all I remember. So whether or not that was a dream, I don't know. I always meant to ask her that, but unfortunately she passed away quite recently. And if that's one thing I want to reconcile, it's that. Now, for the actual story. The second time it happened, because I'm assuming the first did, I remember the entire thing. My bedroom was directly across from where my parents were staying. And my father was out for the night because he also worked nights. At 1 o'clock in the morning, I climbed out of bed. This is what I'm assuming happens because I don't remember anything till the end. I walked across the hallway making slaps as I moved, opened my mother's bedroom door, squatted down, probably exposing my goddamn chocolate starfish. I mean squatted, bro. Like, I bent over and spread them basically. And then tried to take their fire thing, the heater, off the wall. It looks like this, probably. And according to my mother, I kept saying, "There's a door behind you, there's a door behind you, I gotta let them in out of the door." This wasn't a light thing either, dude. This shit was heavy as. It was a lot of metal. And then out of nowhere, I woke. Because my mom screamed saying, "Dean, what the fuck are you doing?" It was a lot more high-pitched than that and a lot more scary. And suddenly, my mind's eye just awoke. Both my eyes shot open. I instantly realized what was going on. Without even thinking, I dropped the entire thing on the floor, barely missing my foot by an inch, screamed, "Ugh, fuck," and bolted full speed back into the bedroom. And I just kind of laid there. You want to know the most fucked part though? I just went back to bed, dude. I didn't even go back in and say anything to my mom, man. I was that tired. I literally laid awake for 4 minutes and then my eyes just shut again. Still nude, laying on top of my sheet, and I woke up the next morning with no blanket on, no sheet because I think I took it off, and then realizing what I did. And that's pretty much where it ends. My grandmother probably saw my slapping meat stick, and my mum almost certainly looked right up my beehole. Having said all that, do I regret any of my life choices up to this point? Not a goddamn minute of it. That wedding was beautiful. When I got to see my wife walk down that aisle, who, by the way, we've been together since we were kids. We met when I was 13 or 14, I think it's coming up to 8-year mark. When I saw her walk down that aisle, I was beyond proud of what I managed to accomplish in this country. And I realized to myself that day, like, no matter what I do in my life, I have made this happen. It was such a momentous accomplishment to get the love of my life from the other side of the ocean to be here with me in a country where we can actually live our lives and we don't have to worry about being poor every day. Making a hard choice between either having food or running water, even with 2 salaries. And as of this past year, I've become a proud father. My beautiful son named Quinn, who I will not stop bragging about. It was a long journey to get here and it was a lot of hard work, but the fact that I was able to put my mind to it and just through pure grit and determination make it, well, I think it's just the best accomplishment I can ever hope for. And as long as I'm a good dad, I don't really want more out of this life. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And as I said, legally you have to subscribe or you have to send me pictures of your balls on velvet sheets. See you later.